There we go. Okay, good evening and welcome. This is the September 7th, 2022 East Long Meadow School Committee meeting. Call the meeting to order. It is 6 o'clock on the money. This meeting is being both audio and videotaped this evening, and I would ask that everybody please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everybody. Okay, I'll move along to a roll call. Sam, if you want to start us off, please. Just your name.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry, Sam.
Sorry.
You've been here before, though.
Yeah.
Okay, one time.
This is Julia's first time, so I went to you. Sorry.
Just started off.
Go ahead.
Samantha Velasquez.
Pamela Blair, Assistant Superintendent for Business.
Sarah Trulio.
Gordon Smith, Superintendent of Schools.
Gregory Thompson.
Antonella Rochella.
Elizabeth Marcin Boucher.
Amy Delenta. Julia Boucher.
And just would like to welcome Julia today. Thank you for being here. We have 3 student reps that will be sharing the job, and you're here with us for the month, and then we're going to rotate. Yes, looking forward to your input. So thank you for joining us today. Okay, with that, we will move on. We have some minutes for approval tonight. So I would like to make a motion.
I move to approve the regular session meeting minutes from August 22nd, 2022.
Motion made by her, Sarah.
Second.
Who's that, Beth? Oh,
I did.
Antonella, thank you. Sorry, Sarah. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, nay. That motion carries 5-0. Thank you all. And Sam, thank you for those minutes. Good. We have a committee and subcommittee communication. Sarah, would you like to start us out?
Sure. It was great to be able to attend convocation. Amy was there, and so was Greg, and obviously Gordon. It was great to not only be there and welcome staff and faculty back, but it was even greater, honestly, to hear from Peter Gray. I know we're going to speak more about this later on in the presentation, but I think his words about how East Long Meadow Public Schools really allowed him to find that intersection between his personal passion and the schools being supportive of that really speaks not only to the long-term vision of East Long Meadow Public Schools, but also our current mission around really supporting the whole child. So it was great to hear a success story, but also to think about how we're still plotting forward with that same goal in mind. And then just want to comment that we had a really smooth start. Buses seem to be running well, food services seem to be running well, and professional development and academics seem to be off to a great start. So thank you to everybody for all the efforts that went in behind the scenes to make that happen.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Sarah.
I don't have anything.
Okay.
I'm actually good today. Should have something, other than I'm happy the kids are back. They're maskless, excited, and I think it's gonna be a good year.
Yeah, it is going to be a good year. Awesome. Amy, please. Nothing today? Just the one thing, Gordon and I met with Chief of Police today. Talked about the traffic patterns in the back of the school. He had a lot of suggestions for us.
Great.
Things potentially we may do is the trailer with the speed limit to warn motorists that they're going too fast. We talked about a potential permanent sign with the light that shows the speed limit for those that are coming through the neighborhood.
Do you get a cost on that?
Yeah, big cost on that too. So that, certainly something that, but certainly the trailer is available. Also stop signs to create a 4-way stop instead of a 2-way stop at Marshall. So some good feedback from the chief. We're going to continue to work together with him in conjunction with the residents of the neighborhood to try to address some of those issues that they're having. Specifically after hours, I think, is mostly their concern, and cars moving fast through the back. So we're working on that. I thank Gordon for being there, and certainly was grateful for the chief to give up an hour of his time today. So
Great.
working on that. Okay, great. With that, we will move forward with an opportunity for visitors to address the committee. I am seeing none.
Gordon, do you want, or not Gordon, Greg, do you want the student rep to give an update or no?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, Julia, do you have anything this evening?
Let's see.
So the school year has started off great, with many students and teachers adjusting well to the new schedule. Many of the fall sports have started with many games to come, including some today. Some exciting events during late October will be the homecoming that the student council is revitalizing, and the junior and senior semi. And then we also had an assembly reviewing a few things in the code of conduct. And October 22nd is the open house for the high school. And other than that, the school year has started off great at the high school.
Thank you, Julia.
Do they have a date? Sorry, may I ask a question? Do they have a date for the activity fair?
For
So
the,
joining clubs and learning about clubs and so
I
forth?
believe, October 7th.
October 7th.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Excellent. Great, thank you so much. Okay, now we'll look for opportunities to address the committee. We have no one in attendance this evening, so we will move forward from there. We have presentations, superintendent's report. We have the Town of East Long Meadow fuel efficiency policy. You want to start us off with that?
With us tonight, we have our Director of Planning, Bailey Mitchell. We'll welcome him up to the table.
You're next to the mic.
Good to have you with us, Bailey.
Yeah, thanks for coming in person.
And Bailey has been working on, and I'm sure he can explain this much better than I can, but he's been working to move the town forward as a green community. And part of that process is looking at, reviewing, and adopting a fuel-efficient vehicle policy. And that's twofold for the town. The town needs to adopt that as a town council, and then the school department specifically needs to adopt that. And I know that Bailey will walk us through everything that we need to know. Bailey.
Yeah, thanks, Gordon. So just a little bit of background, the Green Communities division of the Department of Energy and Resources at the state puts on this program, and it's a funding opportunity for the town and to allow us to become more energy efficient as a town. So we can kind of go through and do the designation process. We have to meet 5 different criterion. Of those, we've done so far 3 of them. This is the 4th one. And then the 5th one was the energy audit of all the buildings that we did. They'll go through, make an energy reduction plan, and make recommendations to the town based off of that. And we can go through all the recommendations, and once we become designated and get the designation, we'll become a green community, and we'll be eligible for the funding, and we can apply for some of those projects and move forward with that. And a part of that is the fuel efficiency vehicle policy. So this one is pretty straightforward. Basically, the school only has one vehicle that is actually non-exempt from the policy. So when the school goes to replace that, they would just have to follow the guidelines that are in the policy. And once the Department of Energy Resources updates the policy or updates the guidelines for NPGs, we would have to then go and update our policy as well, but or at least follow it. So guidelines.
Bailey, if I may, we would have to adopt this to continue with the Green Community Program regardless of whether we had vehicles or not. Is that correct?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay. And I think our vehicle right now is over the 8,500 pounds. Our food delivery truck,
Okay,
I believe
It's
it's
definitely
around
over
11,000 pounds.
okay. So it might be exempt anyway.
But we would have to adopt this anyway, if I'm understanding.
So the only thing with that exemption is if it's on the EPA has like a website, if it's on that website, the make and model of that vehicle, then it is actually not exempt. So we would have to double check, but PVPC, Pioneer Valley Planning Commission, went through our inventory and determined whether they were exempt or not exempt. So they did a lot of that work before I even started.
Sure.
So they determined it was non-exempt, so I don't know. I haven't looked at it myself, but.
And that would, we would have to make sure when we go to renew that vehicle.
Yeah, basically just when you replace it, it would just need to meet the, essentially it's fuel efficiency, and miles per gallon is the biggest thing. If it's not, if it's an on-road vehicle that's not exempt, or yeah, not exempt by gross vehicle weight, and I think there's one other exemption potentially, or I guess off-road and.
So I have a question, not so much with the vehicles, because I know we've only really got the one, but in terms of like a green community designation, like, okay, so we've got older buildings, we've got hoping to have a newer building. How would this, affect us moving forward in terms of the structures that we currently have, or if we put up a new structure and if we can't comply with it, then what happens to the town and, the designation? Do we get fined or?
So I'm not 100% sure what happens, but to date, no community has like been fined or the state hasn't taken the money back or anything like that. So I don't think there's any major negative impact on that, but there's no real like place where the town cannot comply with something other than, I guess, this policy. And then the energy reduction plan is, it's a plan, so, and it obviously would require us getting funding. So with that though, that's kind of up to us to kind of get the rest of that money as well, or put the rest of that money in the budget as well. So for those projects, so it's kind of reliant on, where the town's able to do the projects that we say we want to do and things like that. So, and I know the town council had, I can't remember his title, but one of the state reps that I'm working with was at the town council meeting probably back in December. So it's been a while, but he kind of went through and walked them through the whole process. And I unfortunately don't know like all of the what if scenarios, but he would be able to answer those sorts of questions for us. So if anyone has any questions about the program as a whole tonight that I can't answer, you feel free to email me and I can pass it along. And we can get some answers to those, because we will have to come back at some point, hopefully soon, because the application's actually due at the end of this month. So but our energy reduction plan technically has to be adopted by the school committee and the town council as well. The state might make an exemption for us just because we're coming up on that deadline. We might be able to submit our application and then pass or adopt the reduction plan, just because right now it's being made by the consultants that we worked with. So
Energy reduction.
not done yet. Yeah.
It's not done. And that would be building specific.
Yeah, that's for all town-owned buildings. And
So we'll have to make modifications to our buildings based on that plan.
no, it's just a suggestion. We would have to come up with projects. Basically, it's, again, like just coming up with the projects, use the funds that are available through the program. And then obviously we would have to budget some money of our own as well.
You know what kind of funds they're talking
I
for the designation?
don't know what, I can't remember the exact funding off the top of my head, but it's around, I think there's like 100,000 or 200,000 a year just for being designated. And then you can also apply for competitive grants that are a little bit more. I think, I don't want to just throw out numbers, so.
So that funding would be
No, there are more.
for the capital improvements for the energy efficient.
Yeah.
That's proposed. So we make a proposal, a plan for the town, building specific, and then once we get the designation from the state as a green community, then it follows with some funding from the state.
Yeah.
100, 200,000, that goes directly to capital improvements that we've stated already.
Yeah.
Is that fair?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Questions? So tonight, Bailey, you're looking for us to approve the vehicle, the fuel efficiency vehicle policy?
Yes.
correct? And that's the one, the second one that we just received.
The one you sent me earlier in the day.
And that would apply to any future purchase vehicles, not current vehicles that we.
Yeah, if they meet the requirements, if it's an on-road vehicle and isn't over the gross weight, yeah.
We can also kind of annul this whole thing if we find the state's putting demands on us we can meet as quickly as they want. Can we walk away from this, or are we stuck with this, like, you know, I think it's a good idea. I'm not being negative. I just want to make, sometimes states say you have to do something one way and they're going to give you money, and the next thing you know, you're in a rabbit hole.
Yeah, I mean, legally, I'm not a lawyer, so I can't say like yes or no to that exactly, but I would say that, again, there's been no like negative relationship between a municipality and the state through this program before, so, and there's definitely, I don't think there's any like undue burden put onto the town by doing.
That's good.
Do you know how many communities in the Commonwealth are green communities already, roughly?
Oh,
I know it's been around for a little bit.
yeah, we're
More than
kind of,
not, or?
yeah, there's quite a few.
Yeah.
I don't, again, I don't want to throw out numbers because I don't know for sure. I've only been with the town since April, so, and this has kind of been a project that's been on the back burner for a minute and then all at once. So, so yeah, I think, but there are quite a few communities that are already designated and utilize the funds. So,
And is the stretch energy code correlated to it?
yeah, that was one of the criteria.
One of the criteria. So you adopted that as a community, which has more strict building regulations.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's see, do you want me to make a motion?
Yes, please.
Okay, I move to accept the fuel efficiency vehicle policy.
You get the big one.
Oh, wait,
Approve or accept.
I'm going to approve.
Okay.
I'm trying to decide what's the cover. The fuel efficiency vehicle policy, and should I state for the Green Communities grant?
I would just accept the policy. You can
Okay.
do the effective date of October 1, 2022.
All right. So I move to accept the fuel efficiency vehicle policy as of October 1st, 2022.
Okay.
So less is more there, right?
Yes.
Work?
Yep.
Yep. Okay, motion made by Beth,
Second.
second by Antonella, discussion. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, nay. That motion carries 5-0. Thank you, Bailey. Appreciate it. How's the
Thank you,
mixed
Bailey.
zoning in town going in the center? What's going on with that?
Oh, it's going, it's not too bad. We are planning to have a workshop, kind of it's a joint workshop with the Conservation Commission and the Planning Board. Hopefully October 12th, depending on if we can get a large enough venue.
I think that building use form just came through, right?
Yeah.
Looking to have it at.
Trying to get the, at Birchland.
Yeah.
Okay.
Get the gym and have enough people in there, so. So yeah, it should be good. Survey went well, so.
Okay.
Public works.
Get some input, yeah. How about Chestnut Paxton Machinery? What's going on with that? Is that coming up again?
Yeah, they actually have permitting going on. They have to go to conservation next week for just a notice of intent, just to see if they're around the wetlands.
Yep.
And that should just fine, because they're not really disturbing it, so. But then after that, they go to planning board on the 20th to
Okay.
see if they can get their site plan approved, so.
Okay. Thank you so much for coming tonight, Bailey. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely, thank you all.
Okay,
Thank you, Bailey.
take care. Okay, you all on that. We will move forward with an update on East Long Meadow Public School opening of the schools. Mr. Smith.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Thompson. Up on the big screen and in your packets, have a little bit of a presentation, at least some visuals for you. And I'll be echoing a lot of what Ms. Trudeau said in committee communications. I think we had a great opening week, and actually Julia said the same thing, so thank you, Julia. I'm excited that you're feeling the same way. Everybody contributed to that, so a lot of thank yous go out to the entire district and really all of our families. And after 2+ years of working through the challenges of COVID, although COVID is not gone by any means, I think we're back and we're better. The challenges made us better. And so I'm really looking forward to seeing how that manifests itself throughout this school year. And so the convocation was great. And as Julio said, Peter Gray, class of 2010, did steal the show. He was fantastic and had certainly his moment there with his apron and some of the things he was saying to present his business in the center of town. And hopefully people will frequent it more than they already are frequenting it, because he's fantastic and a real supporter of the public schools, and sent us off into this school year with a really positive message about how we as a district can really focus and not just do academics, but make sure that we're continuing to focus on how social, emotional, and academic growth continue to work together so the students find their passion and really can build upon that and go from us onto much bigger and better things. So that's exciting. And Peter Gray certainly has done that, and we're excited to have him as one of the ELPS community supporters.
I'll tell you, he had the whole cafeteria smiling, his whole presentation.
great.
And it was really nice. It was a really nice presentation.
I remember him the year that must have been the year he graduated. He was kind of in charge of the kids would do the food for the retirement and the, honoring the teachers for their years of service. It was quite the spread, I must say. Him and the other students, there were other students involved also, but I do remember very happy with what they had done, and it was good. Yep.
Recognition reception.
Yep.
So he sent us off on a great up note. We then had two, the remainder of that day, and then the next day, work and professional development, and we took advantage of it. It was great to see. These are just some of the scenes throughout the district, but this is the high school coming together. This was their first meeting, and actually they were reviewing the feasibility study and where the process has gone, and they had some great questions. I was able to attend a few minutes of that one to answer a few questions, and you'll hear a lot of that update in my next presentation. So we'll hold on that. This is a little precursor. Here you see Mr. Pearson at the middle school conducting a professional development and welcoming back middle school staff. They were really focusing in on what and how they continue to integrate the social, emotional, and academic in all content areas, not as a add-on or a peripheral, but how do we engage all of our students and make sure we're removing barriers so that all of our students can engage our curriculum and all the opportunities. So that was pretty cool to see. And it wasn't just our teachers. We have paraprofessionals. Here you have food services on the left. They were working in this conference room for a lot of the day on, actually that's the second of the 2 days. And you see Ms. Brown leading a discussion with our school psychologists and counselors and doing some good work in the high school library. So it was very productive through the first 2 days there of last week. And then we really got down to what we do best. We started to welcome back our students, and we were thankful LPVC has done an incredible job routing and getting our buses moving the first 2 weeks and on time to stops and schools. So that was exciting to see, because I know that they had a lot of hiring this summer. All schools, we watched students coming in, smiles, and staff excited. You have Mountain View and Maple Shade here. You have Mountain View on the bus side, and you have Maple Shade in the car line. And you see Officer Healy there, part of our welcoming crew on the first day, talking to one of the students there. And just a side note, not in the picture, I was taking the picture, and then there was a third grader who asked if I would say hello to someone at another school, because he knew I was on my way to another school. Hey, Mr. Smith, would you mind saying hello to such and such? And that was pretty cool. So we're all in the welcoming spirit, it seems. And then we had certainly staff out at the high school welcoming, and this was a welcome to the first advisory at the middle school. So it was exciting times welcoming students back. This is an 8th grade advisory, so just the fact that 8th grade, they're still engaged, riveted, and ready to roll, it's nice to see. And we really got the next day back to what we do best. And, these are all pictures of Meadowbrook, and one of the reasons being, not only was I traveling the classrooms in Meadowbrook, but most of these are of the meetings that are now going on again at the Reading Rug. For 2 years, we haven't had our reading rugs, and now they're back, and they're in good use, and it's exciting to see. So it's great to be back teaching in somewhat of a more traditional way, but I'll go back to one of the very first slides of this presentation. I think through the 2+ years of dealing with the challenges and the unpredictability of COVID has made us all better at what we do, because all of a sudden we regained flexibility, we regained taking initiatives and a pioneering spirit, and that was exciting to see, and hopefully we can sustain that as we go forward. So, questions on?
We're getting started.
Well,
All right.
How are we doing with staffing?
Staffing, we are almost 100% staffed. We still have some paraprofessionals that we need to hire, working through actually today some of the queries. So hopefully we'll have more staff in place tomorrow at Meadowbrook is where we're trying to finalize staffing. But we're up and running. People are pitching in everywhere, and so far so good. It's been great to see.
Excellent.
Just give me a moment and I'll pull up the next.
Yep, the next item for business, we have an update on the Massachusetts School Building Authority feasibility study for East Long Meadow High School building project.
Okay, so as all of you know, and hopefully many of people who may be watching us tonight or will see this later on LCAT, we are, as a district, in the process with the Mass School Building Authority in a feasibility study for a project at, right here, East Long Meadow High School. And what that means is, in the feasibility study, which takes anywhere from 12 months to 15 months, we're studying potential design options for a comprehensive project here at East Long Meadow High School to rectify many of the challenges that come along with continuing to work in a building that's over 60 years old. So we took a big step forward in this feasibility study. As people know from earlier updates, we have brought on an owner project manager in Skanska. We have a design firm, actually 2 partnering. We have Sims, Maney, and McKee Associates. It's actually reversed, Jones Whitsitt Architects with Sims, Maney, and McKee Associates. And all of that team, along with the school building committee, are working towards looking at design options that will help rectify and take, more importantly, the educational programming in this building for our students into the 21st century and beyond, and support them well. So at the August 25th school building committee meeting, a number of things happened. The biggest of which is that the school building committee voted to submit the preliminary design report to the Mass School Building Authority. And so all told, that's when you put appendices and all the different examples in it, it's a document that is over 600 pages. But basically what was in there is it gave an overview that the architects and the engineers have put together of the current deficiencies and challenges that exist in East Long Meadow High School when you're trying to run a 9 through 12 program, as well as extracurriculars and athletics. Then it provided a capital budget overview for the town, as well as the fiscal status of the town And it was really exciting, actually, and that was just a one page, but it was one of the more exciting pages in that over 600-page document, because it talked about not only the capital projects that have gone on and what the process is in town for capital projects, but it also talked about the strength, the fiscal strength of the town of East Long Meadow, and that based on the numbers and current debt, a comprehensive project can be taken on by the town of East Long Meadow, and we're in good position to do so. And so that's exciting when you're looking at a project such as this. Then it also had the educational program for East Long Meadow High School, and that's something all of you voted to approve and endorse at our last school committee meeting. And basically what that was a look at what are the current courses and programming that are being offered here at East Long Meadow High School, and where, if we had the ideal space in a building, would we take that? We know where we look to take it with our goals and our different action steps, but if we had the ideal space to support everything that we'd like to do, what would that programming look like? And so that was what the educational program was that is getting submitted to the MSBA, and it meets one of the MSBA's criteria for this preliminary design report, because they're looking for how are you, as you look to go forward with some type of comprehensive project, how are you moving forward your academic and educational programming? And so that was a really important piece. Then it also had a summary of all the spaces of all the rooms in the high school. And basically what that means is, yes, it obviously gives their physical dimensions, but it starts to look at, okay, the science labs in the high school, how do they currently match up to what is recommended for spacing for good programming in science, whether it be biology, chemistry, physics, or what have you. And as you know, because you're living it with us, most of our science labs are far under recommended guidelines for spacing, and many of our classrooms are far under recommended spacing for MSBA guidelines if you're looking at true 21st century learning environments. And so that was in there. Then probably the biggest portion of the meeting, and it was a long meeting, Mr. Thompson and Mrs. Marjan-Boucher can attest to. We had been discussing 7 possible preliminary designs. You have to forward in this preliminary design report at least 3, one of which has to be an addition renovation in order to stay in process with, the potential grant opportunities with the Mass School Building Authority. We had 7 that we were discussing and looking at, 3 of which I believe were new building opportunities, 2 of which were addition renovation, and I may be missing one. But then there also was a look at what does it cost to bring the building, just the building up to current code, which is a significant cost. What basically, after discussing all of that, and in the meeting on the 25th, the school building committee decided to do is they voted to move forward 4 design options. One is the code upgrade, which I was just talking about. And so that brings the entire building as it currently exists to code. So that's a significant amount of work that would have to take place to do that. And it doesn't necessarily move forward with some of the vision that we had in the educational programming. Then the second was looking at an addition renovation, which was required in accordance with Mass School Building Authority guidelines. Looking at your current building, adding some features to the current building, demolishing certain portions of the building, and then really redesigning the interior. Doing something like that is a little bit longer, but certainly as you're doing it, when you finish off that process, it does look like new in all the areas that you have renovated or added to, which would be new, the addition part. Then we went to a new possible building option, and it was one that keeps the building somewhat centrally located on the current campus. Excuse me. And then finally, we looked at a building option where you have two separate buildings. You have the school, and then what we've been calling, at least in the building committee meetings, the community building separated. And the community building would have in it central office, IT, LCAT, and the pool, as well as possibility of adding your concession stand on one end that was closer to the stadium and possible facilities and so forth. And that would be further out away from where the new building would be, and certainly the old building is currently. And so all of these are going to be now looked at much more specifically. And in talking with the design team today, all of them can be now tinkered with and looked at again to see, okay, well, we've scoped out X square footage based on what your current building is. What if we look at different square footage in this design option? And so one of the things that we were talking about today when I was talking with the design firm, and hopefully will be discussed next week with the school building committee, is how do we keep all of these still viable? As we go now to the community and we start to discuss more specifics, certainly as you go to say number 4, that's a much costlier, at least right now, according to estimates, project than say number 1, the code upgrade. And we know that. So that's something that we want to make sure that we're doing, that we are looking at how do we keep all of these viable and meeting the needs and solving as many challenges as possible for the high school, excuse me. But really, if you think about it, many challenges with this opportunity could be possibly resolved for the community as well. One big thing, which is the bullet at the bottom, which was discussed at length at the school building committee meeting, is that the MSBA has a very clear pool policy. And let me backtrack up to the top there just for a moment. The community building, the grant that we're seeking through the MSBA, once we get through the feasibility study, we already have a grant where the MSBA right now is reimbursing us as we go along and spend money conducting this feasibility study. When we finish the feasibility study, what we'd like to have happen is enter into another grant with the MSBA to do the actual project. We know, just on working with the MSBA, there are going to be eligible costs and there are going to be ineligible costs. We know already that things like central office, the town IT department, LCAT, and a pool are ineligible for grant reimbursement. The difference is from the central office, IT, and LCAT is that they would allow, the MSBA would allow that to go forward in a school building project that still is under their process, if you will. However, they will not allow a new pool to go forward under the auspices of an MSBA project. So that would be something that eventually we would have to separate out as two different projects. Unless, of course, you do something such as combining it with the community building, which is number 4. So these are all keeping our options open so that as we go forward from now through probably February of 2023, we're getting into good discussion. We're taxing our design team to continuing to look at, from the discussion and the feedback, how they make changes so that we continue to have the best options to choose from that provide us with solutions to the challenges that we've identified. That's where we got to at the end of the school building committee meeting. You want to go back,
Gordon?
Yeah, please.
Just on the last bullet with the pool. So the pool thing is a new concept for us because we thought we could inherently, you put it as the same project. What it's gonna end up being is a separate vote, whether the pool is by itself as a separate building, or whether the pool has some of the other things. IT, LCAT, they can go there, they don't have to go there, and I don't know that they necessarily need to go there. I think some of those could go in the main project, and then we can make that community buildings, a real community building, something that's applicable to all ages in the town. So still a work in progress, but just so everybody knows, based on what MSBA has told us, that's gonna be a completely separate vote. At the same time, so when it goes to the ballot, we'll have a question for the school itself, and then we'll also have a question for the pool and whatever is gonna go in that additional building, which will all be non-reimbursement things. But we're hoping that on the same day, we can have a successful double vote for those, both of those things. So just to keep in mind as we're going forward, that now it's not just one vote, we'll be looking at two. So it'll be the strategy to make those palatable for the town and reasonable for our tax impact as well, so.
Now, in terms of an addition renovation of the current building, that wouldn't be a separate vote, I think, because the pool, we would still pay, but because it's still part of a renovation, I think we
Wow.
can keep it under the one vote, but we still pay 100%.
That's only if we renovate the existing pool.
You'd have to renovate it.
It would have
Four
to-
lanes, and in all honesty, the architects are not confident
No, I
that
understand,
it's a
but I'm just-
viable option.
I'm just so that people
Yeah.
understand. So
Yep.
two is, and one, as in terms of the code upgrade, I do not believe that that would be eligible for MSBA reimbursement at all.
Yes, it is.
Very minimal.
Very minimal.
No, it's not.
We don't know.
Yeah,
No, we
they-
do know.
No, they don't.
Wait, stop this. This is not right. No.
The thing I wanted people to understand was, I think that's a really important thing for them to price out, because we need to see what it would cost if we don't vote for, if we end up choosing and the town doesn't vote for the school. The code upgrade is what it will be moving forward, with maybe there'll be a couple things, but they're not even sure.
But the code upgrade, we're only gonna lose a couple percentage points. I really believe
I
that.
understand
We don't know that yet for sure.
Well, I
but
did
we
ask
can
them
find out.
again today.
What'd
So
they say?
they really feel it's unknown. that
Yeah,
it's
it's
never-
very unknown.
That's unacceptable. We've hired this firm to tell us what it's gonna cost. So they need to go to the MSBA, and if rehab work, so the number 2, addition renovation, is applicable for MSBA reimbursement, then why not the code upgrade?
The difference is that you're not actually moving walls.
We're
in a
not
code
doing that in
upgrade.
2 either.
You know you are.
Yeah.
absolutely are.
In the
We're not,
addition
Gordon,
renovation
not in the
plan.
main existing classrooms.
You absolutely, in the discussions I had
The only reason
today,
why I brought it
they
up is so
absolutely
that
are.
People understand, I think it's just good that we're gonna have a price of what
It
it would
might be our
cost
option though,
to
Beth.
upgrade
It
this.
still might be our
It
option.
might be our option,
Okay,
but we
that's
need
fair.
to know it. So
We have
I
options.
think that's good that we carried that through, but.
And you're
obviously,
gonna have
at
more
least best to know if that's what-
at the meeting next week. So we have another school building committee meeting next week. And I think you're gonna be excited, at least I'm excited from what they started to tell me today, that they're tweaking and they're looking. And I can say that the difference is they are moving walls in the renovation.
Okay.
So they're gonna demolish a certain portion, they're gonna add, and they'll be moving walls, that's where you're gonna add to the length of the process, because we're gonna have to move students into modulars. And then they'll be removing, they'll be moving walls, where in a code upgrade is not the same exactly, because they're just bringing things up to code.
And all the options have a pool, even if it's only 4 lanes.
Correct.
4 is better than none.
I think they'll look at the addition renovation, since they know the pool is gonna have to be separate anyway.
Yeah.
Granted, if it's not a renovation of
Without the
4,
pool.
well, they would put the pool as a still as a
Separate structure.
Yeah.
Correct, yeah.
I think that's where we're gonna head. I can't see us spending $10 million to renovate a 4-lane pool, which may not be renovationable,
I know.
renovatable. Renovatable.
Able to.
Unable to
Able to
renovate.
be renovated. Thank you, Sarah.
That's my next slide here, yeah. So going forward, and some of this we've already mentioned, so we're going into what they call the preferred schematic report phase. And so that gives us the opportunity between now and February of 2023, when our next big submission to the MSBA occurs, to really get into discussion of this, get much more specific on these 4 options. And similar to sort of what we've seen. They'll probably proliferate a little bit in our discussions in terms of, okay, well, 2B, 2A, 2B type of thing. So that we really can get down to some of these very specific questions that we're asking. With that said, we will always obviously look to be fiscally responsible and make sure that we're asking the questions that will help the town make eventually the best decision. We have a lot of time. This is, not only between now and February, but even at that point, there's time to continue to have informational sessions and so forth going forward, because we're not finished fully with the feasibility study probably until November of 2023. The first community forum is coming up on, sorry.
I was just gonna say the vote would be November of
Correct.
2023.
Yes.
Yep. Sorry to interrupt.
No, that's fine. So our first community forum is happening September 21st at 6 PM at our Senior Center or Council on Aging here in East Long Meadow. And although we don't have the full agenda set, what we're looking to do is make sure that people are understanding, first of all, what the whole MSBA process is and how the grant process works, then what we're trying to achieve, and then go into the 4 options that have been put forward, while also saying some of the things that we've talked about tonight is that this is still preliminary. So we want to get feedback, and I think what they're going to try to do, if possible, is after doing some formal presenting, and we'll discuss all of this at the school building committee next week so that we can finalize it with the school building committee, is try to get some group feedback for the people who come next week, or excuse me, in a couple weeks, if they can have the outlines of the options and the different features of the options, and have people actually green dot it and red dot it in terms of what their preferences are, just to get some more community feedback. I think we had, was it over 70 or 700 in terms of responses on the online? I think it's probably 70.
70.
Yeah. 700 was more of a wish.
Dream?
A dream, yeah, a dream. So, we're looking to get community feedback in any way possible. We had at National Night Out, we had some folks come to the table, and then we launched from the survey that was there, an online version of it, and we did get some good feedback there. And so we're going to continue to try to pull in community feedback so that this is, along with school building committee and school committee, these are the things that are driving our decisions as we go forward.
Were we able, as we're sitting here, we have an open house currently happening, were we able to get any table or information out for the open houses?
So we don't at Maple Shade have this information yet, but at the other open houses I will.
Okay.
This information, yeah. I'm hoping that the people who are not attending the Maple Shade open house, and I'm sure that there's an incredible crowd there, I would like to be there as well.
I know.
The millions that are watching us right now are taking us down. So we are must-see TV. Okay on this page?
I am.
Nope. Okay. Final page. Any questions on all of that?
Just to say that, I know previously we had talked about, we got to this, at this point, that it might also make sense for us to meet people where they are. So not besides the open houses, thinking also about going out to our PTOs
PTOs, right?
and meeting with
Yeah.
them as they're starting to kind of come back as well, to say,
Right.
can we come to one of your meetings and can we present some of this information? Because we know that that's a really active body within
Right.
each of our buildings. So to be able to present.
That's a great, and so those are things we're starting to discuss. We have to put together this community sharing plan, if you will. And then the other piece that I think we have to look at and probably finalize with the school building committee is probably getting in front of the town council regularly. And we do have Kathy Hill as part of our school building committee, as part of a member as our school building committee. And so I'm sure she's giving reports and feedback to the town council, but it might be good for them to hear from part of our school building committee, maybe even bring part of the design team, and just in a less formal presentation, than some of the hour-long presentations that we've given, provide an update and sort of where we're going and sort of what the process is, because I think as we get into the MSBA process, sometimes it is so structured and so comprehensive, people get confused as to, all right, so what's your next step?
Right.
And what does that mean when you're doing X or Y? Feasibility study alone, the fact that, I know many people didn't even realize that that can take anywhere from 12 months to 15 months to complete. So.
It's a frustrating process, but it is a thoughtful process, as much as I hate to say it. But it's frustrating, as you move, but that's more a sign of the times than it is, so I think we've got some good designs, and I know they know how we feel about it. We're trying to be as fiscally appropriate as we can, so.
And we're going to keep working at that.
I know, thank you.
Keep all options viable.
Should we plan to go to the town council at some point?
I think, yes, I absolutely, and I think we probably want to discuss it as a school building committee and sort of say, okay, who from this group should go? And then see if we can get on their agenda maybe regularly.
Yeah.
Every other meeting, or decide what it is. I think there's, as long as the last school building committee meeting was, I think the next one's going to be long too.
Yeah.
Because we have a lot to discuss. And so the other
Beth
thing
likes
is
to talk, so.
we're going to
Yeah, it's me.
ask the school building committee, I think we've been meeting monthly, we'll probably go twice a month if possible, because, we're going to need to do some of these things. And so, there might be different members going to different groups and connecting with them. And so a lot of that will get discussed next week.
As much as you can continue to ensure that the community is part of the process, and ultimately the community will feel the benefit and feel like they had a say. So meeting folks where they are,
Right.
It's really important in that.
So to your point, Sarah, about meeting the PTOs, should we think about reinstating individuals, school committee members designated to individual schools, and
Certainly
perhaps
could.
then that person could go to the school committee or to the PTO meetings?
PTOs.
Yeah. Okay, we can talk
I think you
about that.
demystify the process. It is a lengthy process, but if you have individuals from the architects, from the OPMs actually going out, and if you're putting a face to something other than just a name, it helps people to see that this isn't
Right.
just a process, but there's an outcome at the end. And if we stay true to it, then hopefully the community as a whole benefits from that outcome.
And to see the incredible skills that, say, our design team has, our OPM has, that we're in good hands.
Absolutely. And the members of our community are a part of those teams who have tremendous skill sets that are helping to navigate the process and to make an informed decision for the community as a whole.
Excellent. Okay, so our next meeting for the building committee is next week, the 15th?
Is next week, yes, the
15th?
15th. Yeah, is that Thursday?
Yep.
Thursday.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Smith.
I think that one's later, isn't it, Gordon?
At 4 PM.
4 o'clock.
Okay.
That was so that if we do have, we can put public comment later in the meeting, so that allows people to get home.
Yeah.
Not get home and come here.
Here.
Right. Okay, we'll move on to the Assistant Superintendent for Business Report. Pam, we have the approval of the FY23 state and federal grants.
That's right. So in front of you, you'll see a spreadsheet. I've put the federal grants on the top, as I always do, and I'll just list them one at a time and give you the amount, and then at the end, we could just, approve them with the amounts that I list. So we have the Title I grant, which is $314,447. And this grant is for Meadowbrook, Maple Shade, and Birchland are the schools that are supported under this grant. The grant pays for a reading specialist, a preschool teacher, half interventionists, and 6 paraprofessionals in the district. The next grant is the Title IIA grant. That's $51,611. This grant is for high-quality professional development to be used at each school. Teachers are paid stipends, and consultants are hired to present high-quality professional development. Title IV, $20,306. This grant pays for high-quality professional development for strengthening school climate and school culture. Special ed allocation, the early elementary childhood grant is $19,175, and that's funded through the Department of Early Education and Care. This grant pays for a portion of our early childhood liaison. Special ed IDEA grant, $838,356. This federal allocation grant is used primarily to pay for special ed out-of-district placements. Other expenditures include students' supplies and stipends for special ed team facilitators and coordinators at each of the schools. So the total of the federal grants is $1,243,895. And I will let you know that that is an increase from last year of about $63,000 in that area.
Percent.
Yep, there you go, Mr. Math.
Right.
I always bring my calculator with me. On the bottom of your chart are the state grants. We have the METCO grant, which is $332,952. And this is a state-funded grant which supports the METCO program with staffing, supplies, and transportation costs. The next one is the Comprehensive School Health Services Grant, $80,000, and it supports the school health services throughout the district. And this is a DPH grant that our, what's her new title? Kelly
Administrator for Health Services.
oversees that grant. The last one is the Teacher Diversification Pilot Grant. This is really, in all honesty, it's a rollover from FY22 into a new, I don't know why they've never done it this way before, but I felt I needed to be extremely transparent with you because it is, we did have it last year, but it wasn't expended, so we rolled it over. So the grant, but they wanted us to set it up as a brand new grant. So it's $7,708 rolled into, and this is a state-funded pilot grant program which provides funding to support local school and district efforts to strengthen and diversify existing teacher recruitment and retention programs. The total of the state grants is $420,660. Therefore, the grant and the overall on the state grants is actually just like $500 less than it was last year. The grand total of federal and state grants is $1,664,555. And again, I just want to remind folks that without these grants, we would be asking the town for a whole lot more in our operational budget. That is a significant amount of funds, grant funding that we get. So I request that the school committee approve these grants.
Do you want us to separate federal from?
No, it doesn't have to be, as long as, because it's on the sheet, so if you reference that.
Okay, I move to accept the $1,664,555 federal and state grants for 2022 to 2023.
Excellent, thank you, Beth. Motion made by Beth.
Second.
Sarah, discussion. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, those opposed, nay. That carries 5-0, thank you. Year end of the year financial?
Yeah, I was just gonna say on those grants, I'm still working on setting them up. I'm hoping this week, so as soon as they are, they will start to be expended. So yes, your next item, 5.2.2 is the approval of the FY21 end of year financial report audit. So every year in the month of September, I'm about to start it. I haven't yet, but I will. And so if you see my office door closed, that's why. And I work on a lot of weekends, but I complete the Massachusetts Department of Elementary Secondary Ed end of year financial report for the district. And of course, the way it works is I'm always a fiscal year behind. So this audit report here is actually from the FY21 school year or fiscal year. So basically, this is an expenditure report based upon each school by DOE categories of expenses, which includes operational budget, grants, revolving, and town expenditures. So as you can imagine, it's a huge, very detailed report. A lot of information comes from this. And per Mass General Law, an auditor, an outside auditor, so we have Scanlon that comes in every year and audits my report. So as hard as I try every single year to get it just right, there's always mistakes that she finds. Joanne does a great job from Scanlon. So I'm not going to go through every single one here. Just know that she has to ensure that the numbers line up and match with the town, so that there's always, equity here, and that things are reported, because it can affect Chapter 70 funding and many other things, grant funding. So she goes through, we discuss any errors. Sometimes I am able to show her documentation, and she can, understand that that's not an error. Other times she finds little things. Some of this had to do with the town grant funding that they actually expended for things on the school that I didn't report because I was unaware, or our numbers were off. So some of it was that, but their job is to come in and take a look. So she found errors. I have to then go into the DESI portal and put an amendment in. So she ensures that I do that so that our numbers are correct. So again, Mass General Law ensures that I bring this forward to the school committee and the town as well, so that, again, very, very transparent. And I need you to approve this. And if anyone has any questions, I'd be more than happy to sit and go over them with you. Because as I said, it's a very detailed, large report.
Questions from the committee? Nothing glaring, right, Pam?
No, there really isn't. There are always that, like, there's all these columns, and the more grant funding you get, an additional column. So this report is not only that, it goes by school and by expenditure category. All my, I love the DOE code. You guys will hear me talk throughout the year. I love DOE codes. It just keeps everything, superintendent in an area, business in an area, curriculum in an area, maintenance, so that we could really, understand where all the funds goes. And the town does, contribute. So when I reach out, which I already got this information, I'll be working on it for FY22, because that's how it works. I reach out to the town accountant's office, and they give me an expenditure report for all of the departments in the school. In the town, because there's a certain percentage of the town accountant's office, how much of their expenditures come to the school. So it all comes back through, IT department, DPW, the trash, so it's all of this that then comes in, and again, it's just a very, very large, detailed report.
Sure. All right, I move to accept the Mass Department of Elementary and Secondary Education end-of-year financial report for the year ending June 30th, 2021.
Motion by Beth,
Second.
second by Antonella. Discussion. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, nay. Carries 5-0. Thank you, Pam.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
In our final order of business this evening, we have a request for the East Long Meadow Education Endowment Fund for their annual Spartan Sprint.
We do. So this is their annual Spartan Sprint. I don't know how many they've done now so far. 5?
I don't know.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
But they, yeah, it's more than one.
Antonella and I ran
That
together.
way we can say annual. And it's held this year, or they would like to hold it on Sunday, September 25th. They hold it here at East Long Meadow High School, and they use our parking lot and the stadium for announcements and so forth. They have both their race, and then they have a kids fun run. They're relatively quick because they're coming in, probably setting up somewhere around 7 or maybe a little earlier, but they're done wrapping up somewhere around the 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock timeframe, and then they're out. Usually very well attended, and certainly all the proceeds go back to supporting East Long Meadow Public Schools and its programming. Not only are they seeking your approval to hold the event here at the high school, but also, as you know, we do have a policy for community use regarding Sundays that does dictate that events start after 1 p.m. We do over the course of the last few years, I think have 3 recurring events. Spartan Sprint's one of them. Rays of Hope is another one of them. And then the one that had actually occurred for a few years running, but did not occur last year, was a lacrosse tournament that took place in the spring. No, I'm sorry, late. It was a recruiting event, and it took place in November. That did not happen last year. So if that comes up, you may see that again, but generally it's been 3 per year that have come to you for a waiver of that policy.
Questions from the committee? If not, I would look for a motion to approve the Spartan Sprint on September 25th.
Do it. I move to approve the Spartan Sprint and the use of our facility on September 25th, 2022. Is that it?
Details listed as, details as presented.
Details as presented.
It's just because it's the morning. We gotta, it's 9 o'clock race, so that gets us in the time. Excellent motion made by Antonella, thank you. Looking for a second.
I'll second.
Second by Amy. Thank you, Amy. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. That motion carries 5-0. Thank you all. And with that, we have come to the conclusion of our meeting. I would look for a motion to adjourn. Motion made by Sarah to adjourn. Second by Beth. Thank you, Mr. Mackey, for your time this evening. Julia, thank you for coming and your input as well. Motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, nay. That motion carries 5-0. We are adjourned. Thank you and good night.